Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you're all at in the world, and welcome back for another Hornet Security webinar. This one we're going to be focusing on VM backup and specifically version 9 of our Hornet Security VM backup application. As always, my name is Andy Serwich, and I've got Matt Fry here. How's it going, Matt?
Yeah, good morning from me, or good afternoon from me. Good morning to other people in the world. Yeah, all good, thank you. And yeah, pleasure to be back, mate. Pleasure to be
Yeah,
back.
definitely. We've got a lot to talk about in a 30-minute time period here, Matt. And I
Yeah,
think we even have a demo to throw in here as well too. So what do you think? Should we
absolutely.
get rolling here?
Yeah, let's go for it. Okay, cool. I'm in charge of deck today because for once we're going to reverse the roles a little bit too. Andy's going to be the technical man today, and I'm going to do a bit of the waffle. So
It's
there
nice
we
to
go.
change it up once in a while. So
Of course it is. Of course it is.
in terms of our agenda, we're going to start with a product overview. We're going to talk about VM backup functions, what's new in V9. I'll get into the recovery functions, right? Because backup is the easy part. It's recovery that's the important part of backup and recovery. We're going to talk about augmented inline deduplication a little bit. It's kind of a little bit of word salad there, right? But it's a very important and very helpful feature in VM backup. And then we're going to answer the question, why VM backup? And somewhere in there, we've got some demos as well, too, because we don't like to murder people with PowerPoint. So
No,
we
no,
got to do a demo as well.
no.
So again, my name is Andy Serwich. I've been in the industry for 22 plus years now. I'm always had a hand in the infrastructure space, so that's in the Microsoft space. That's Hyper-V, Azure, Office 365. I'm also a VMware vExperts, and currently I'm a security evangelist for Hornetsecurity. If you have any questions after the fact, or you just want to say, hey, I am available out on Mastodon. I'm out on the InfoSec Exchange instant of Mastodon at Andy Sandwich. It's a whole story that I'll have to tell some other time. But also available out on github.com/aserwich. Apologies, you have to spell the last name, but that's got all the different ways to get a hold of me after the fact in case you have any questions after today's session. You can also just do andy@hornetsecurity.com as well. So Matt, I think we're introducing you next, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, hi everybody. My name is Matt Fry. I've been in the IT industry just a little bit longer than Andy, probably over 25 years now. I was a Microsoft evangelist myself from a previous job and heading up an MSP for over 10 years actually in Bristol here in the UK. And I'm now currently head of pre-sales and training and education at Hornetsecurity. You want to get a hold of me, my details will be published within the marketing blurb and the details at the end. So you'll be more than welcome to get in contact with me if there's any questions you have post this event today. So, Andy, as you said, we've got 30 minutes. So if you don't mind, I'm going to do a bit of housekeeping. I'm going to do a bit of a bit of a speed on here and talk to people. So first of all, Hornetsecurity, for those of you who don't know us, who are we? Well, we're a leading cloud email security and compliance and backup provider. We've been in the business for a number of years now. 2007, really, we got going. So we've been around, and our portfolio is basically, or primarily, around 365 total protection, which covers all aspects of security for Microsoft 365, spam, malware, threat protection, compliance, and email management. And of course, on top of that, backup and recovery, specifically for Microsoft 365. And today, we're talking to you about VM backup, so anything else you have left on site, effectively in a VM world. We've got over 5,000 partners. We've got over 50,000 customers worldwide. So again, showing we're not new boys on the block here and by any means. It's also worth mentioning, I love this little bit at the bottom, because everything is developed in-house, okay? From the initial idea to the final product, services are planned, conceived, and developed in-house. It's very important. We pride ourselves in that particular factor. And we've obviously got in-house support and offices in German, English, Spanish, and French. We've got the whole systems in those four key languages too. And we've got a security lab, which is spent 24/7 monitoring email traffic, continuous evaluation, analysis, and reporting of email threats, which, as I read this morning, is a particularly important thing as a shifting tactics, a fueling surge in business email compromise landed in my inbox first thing this morning. So business email compromise it's the core of our business, obviously, but the fact is it's never gone away. And every time it quietens down, it just comes back with a surge. So it's always coming in. So a little bit about us around the world too. As you said, we're a global company. We got 11 data centers. We've got 10 offices around the world. I'm not going to go into details in here, but you can see we're a global company. We've got presence wherever it's needed. And if you've got a system or a solution in a specific part of the world, we can service you for that place, right? So I alluded to at the beginning, we've been around since 2007. We became international in 2008. And then within a couple of years, we had 10 countries and over 200 sales partners. So we kind of made a quick jump into the market there. Very quickly, leading up to something like 2016, 2017, and 10-year anniversary, at which point we had over 550 resellers worldwide. Okay, we rebranded in that period from anti-spam Europe to Hornetsecurity. And then we kind of took on a different dynamic. As we were growing, we kind of did a bit of a simulation to get hold of some of these great products in the marketplace. So we got hold of Vera, spam filter division. We acquired EveryCloud, which is where I came from, the UK distribution and US distribution arm. We are partnered with Swisscom. We acquired Spamina. We acquired Zero Spam and Altaro. Welcome, Andy, to the family. And then we acquired ITCL as well in 2022. So we now have security awareness as a product as well within our portfolio, giving us a great all-round portfolio. And our growth figures with employees shows exactly that same trend. Again, I don't need to talk about it. It speaks for itself in that sense. We're now over 421, I believe, today. So you can see that our strategic planning in our solution offering is supported by organic organizational growth within that. So anyway, threat simulation situation. Ransomware is on the rise. Nearly 6 in 10 ransomware attacks originated from malicious email or phishing attacks. Exactly what I've just alluded to. It landed in my inbox this morning. It couldn't have arrived at a better time for this webinar today to say that. Absolutely. So it's massively prevalent, and 15% of these ransomware attacks are specifically targeted towards backup storage. Now that's a key number, Andy, for me. That's saying that 15% of these attacks are not just after your business data and where it's stored, they're specifically looking for your backup. I want that backup as well. I'm after that particular piece. Then you've got no way back in their eyes, I guess. In a sense.
Well, they know that, right? That's
Absolutely,
the problem. Is the threat actors know that. That's why it's targeted in a lot of cases.
Of course it is. Yeah, totally. And the cost for downtime and data loss, well, can amount to millions of euros, dollars, pounds. Take your choice there. So, VM backup, what is it as a product overview? Well, it's powerful, reliable, and it's easy to use backup, okay, and replication solution as well. It deals with virtual machines and Windows physical servers too, and its key deal is to prevent enterprise data loss. Now we have ransomware protection, obviously leveraging immutable cloud storage, as Andy alluded to earlier, augmented inline deduplication, which is extremely important in the way we manage the speed of those backups and manage the storage space, etc. Which gives us the next line, the major storage space savings. That's exactly what we get out of all this stuff. And a WAN optimized replication to just get that speed and accuracy there for everybody who needs it. And of course, we've got centralized backup management in our simple, easy to use single pane of glass console, which has our email, our backup, our SaaS products, all in the one simple console, making it real easy to use, okay? I'm going to kind of lead into you on this a bit, Andy. A little bit of a detail slide. As you said, again, I don't want to kill everyone with PowerPoint, but I think this is a really key slide and makes it kind of really clear to everyone. But if you want to talk through some of the details, I know you love about this.
Yeah, definitely. Having an engineering background, having used to been a guy in the trenches doing this stuff, I love diagrams like this because it really kind of shows where the product fits, right? So, I mean, when you look at your infrastructure, on the left-hand side, we have our virtualization host, right? Either Hyper-V or VMware. In the middle, that's where the backup process lives, right? We got VM backup that's kind of driving all of this. And really what we're doing is we're utilizing those underlying APIs that live in both Hyper-V and vSphere to facilitate the backups, right? That allows us to utilize VSS, that enables our inline deduplication, and also gives us change block tracking, which is amazing, right? When we talk about backups. And like I mentioned earlier, right, backup's the easy part, but recovery is really where it's at. So VM backup really enables a number of different recovery options. We got granular file restores. If you're running Exchange on premises still these days, we have the ability to do granular restores for Exchange objects. Boot from backup, which is super cool, one of my favorite features in the stack. And we also can do the typical full VM restores as well as recovering just a specific disk as well, virtual disk in case you need it. From there, we've takes those backups and we store them in a number of different places, right? We've got a lot of different options for on-premises and a lot of different options for offsite as well, which I'll get into a little bit more here when we get into the demo. So But yeah, I think that's we cover that, and we'll go through more as we get into the demo.
Cool, nice. Okay. And again, a little an overview of some of the features here that Andy's going to talk through or show you, actually, more importantly, in a minute here. Hot and live backup, so the ability to perform backups at any time, needed just a simple push of a button, no downtime required, just bang, I need a backup now for any particular reason. The WAN optimized replication, again, as Andy's alluded to there, it's a continuous replication of those virtual machines to another site, allows you to have that continuous backup and kind of no gap deal within your backup strategy. Continuous data protection and flexible backup scheduling. Well, that's all about the automation within here, the automated backup at interval time settings, whatever your frequency is, whatever your I guess your business requires for your frequency there. And the concurrency, the fact that we built in some great concurrency now, we've got simultaneous backup of multiple virtual machines at the same time to get that in state, get it backed up, get it put out to the core offsite staging areas. Retention policies, obviously key and important. You want to define them, you can change them, you can set them up individually, or you can set them as a global policy. And then of course the old GFS. Okay, everybody remembers GFS if you've been in backups for as long as I have. I'm more of a grandfather than a son nowadays, but there we go. You know, setting up the dedicated hierarchical backup intervals for years, months, weeks, however you want it to be. All right. And then of course, as Andy said, well, I guess it is the most important. You know, there's a lot of ways to back stuff up. I can use Robocopy to back something up again, but being able to find that data, get it back again quickly and easily is what makes the product stand out. And the boot from backup, again, it's just the ability to just look at that backup, check it's all good, check it's the one you want, boot it. Let's go. Let's get the system back up and running off that bootable backup while you deal with whatever mess happened over here in the corner, sort that out, then we can get you back in again.
And if I can jump in really quick, Matt, I think it's really important to highlight that feature because it's so critical in a lot of cases. The use case I always give is, again, going back to my in the trenches days. I had a medical customer I was working with one time that, despite all of our persistence, they were running their practice management software off of a single database node, a single server, despite us telling them not to do that. Well, sure enough, that database server fell flat on its face one day. And guess what? This database server was holding CT scan images, X-rays, really high resolution images. And we're talking 14 terabytes of data on this database server. And you think about how long a standard restore would take, you're talking 20, 24, 28 hours, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That is the situation where boot from backup really shines, because you can boot from a recent backup. Basically what that feature is doing is it's facilitating a storage connection from the backup storage to your hypervisor. It brings that virtual machine up using the backup storage, and your users are functional and working while a recovery job is happening in the background. While that VM is running in that state, we're capturing all the changes that occur during the day. And at the very end of the process, the administrator presses a button and says, okay, commit the changes that have happened and finish the recovery job. We shut down that boot from backup instance. We commit all of the changes that happened during the day, and then we bring up your nice, shiny, brand new recovered virtual machine, and away you go. So really, you're only down as long as it takes to, one, notice that there's a problem, and two, go through this boot from backup process, right? So like I said, it's one of my favorite features in the stack, and I think that's one of those features that you don't really see the value of it until you get a hypothetical situation, right?
Absolutely, thank you. And yeah, that's a very key part. You know, I was focusing there on the simplistics of the matter, that the boot from backup, while you're dealing with the trouble, as I said, that's happened over here with your live systems. But you're absolutely right. In a scenario like that, we need then say, okay, this is now ready, we're good, okay, restore. Yeah, that's going to be a while. So exactly that. Thank you, Andy. Yeah, good. Yep. Jumping on through some of the other bits, recover as a clone. Yeah, the ability to restore a virtual machine to the same type to other hypervisors, allowing you to just get a clone out of it for DR testing purposes or any other kind of purpose. Exchange item level restores, excellent. That's what you kind of want nowadays, isn't it? If you've got that Exchange server in there, or SQL Server, being able to get that granular restore is absolutely key and vital. Sandbox restoring and backup verification. Your backups are as good as the backup quality, and you don't know what that backup quality is like till you need to use it in anger. I just alluded to the backup and recover as a clone. That's one thing I've done in the past in order to get a test and have a look at that backup and boot it separately and independently offline and check it's got what I think it's got in it. But being able to have a backup verification step in there just gives you that peace of mind that everything is sweet, everything's backed up, it's all looking good. And then the full granular restore, file-based recovery, folders, disks, backup from Windows are absolute standard stuff, important standard stuff. So VM9, Andy, the new boy on the block.
Yep.
I mean, I guess what everybody hears from us, what we're marketing, what we're shouting about is the immutability now that we've got built into the product. We now look after, we allow immutable on Amazon, S3, Wasabi, Azure, any of those 3 platforms. We can give you the full immutable. It's tamper-proof, and while it's under the immutable policy, which is another point of mine, you can adjust that policy. You can set what that policy for the immutability is, however long you want it to be. Giving you that peace of mind from ransomware attacks, you know, and I guess giving you that another layer of security above the existing offsite storage. Okay, you assume your offsite storage is untouchable. If they can find a way, that 15% is looking for that hole to get to that offsite storage, and if it finds it, it's got you. Thank you very much. And I guess finally, then, yeah, no need for retaining unnecessary data, incurring high costs. I mean, I guess that is right. You want, if you're going to use these cloud storage systems, they're charging you too for the amount of storage you're using. So being able to have the WAN optimized traffic, because some of them do charge you for the traffic costs as well as storage costs, is going to save you time and money, and our augmented deduplication will allow you to save on that storage space, giving you even more. Okay. So augmented inline. Do you want to go through this? I know you love this. This is
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a cool technology. It really is. And you know, whenever we hear deduplication, right? I mean, there's a lot of vendors in the space and all of them talking about deduplication. What does it really mean, right? So if you think about traditional deduplication, you think about these backup chains that, you know, historically the industry has used, right? Where the first backup is a full, obviously, and then just the changes are tracked at each subsequent backup. And it's become well known in the industry that the problem with this model is, let's say the storage that, you know, the 20th backup lives on, that particular block in the storage goes bad or whatever, now your entire chain is shot, right? So the way our augmented inline deduplication works is we keep, I guess what I would say is a database of blocks, and we pair that with a hash table that sits in memory and on disk to survive reboots. But what that really allows us to do is to say, this block that we backed up here is associated with this backup, this backup, this backup, and it removes that chain dependency, right? So the next question I always get then is like, okay, well, what happens if you do have some sort of storage corruption? Well, what's nice about this method is if you do have some sort of storage corruption on the backup side, you know, maybe you have a disk fail or you have a file system issue on the storage that is housing the backups, whatever, you'll, with a high degree of probability, still be able to recover that backup. And, you know, maybe it's just you know, a blank spot on a particular virtual machine that has the corrupt block, or maybe it's God forbid it's a system file on the VM that you're trying to recover, right?
You know it is. The one time it is, you know,
right.
It's a system file.
Exactly. Yeah. But the nice thing is it doesn't mean all your backups are hosed, right? You'll still have a high degree of probability of recovering. And the other benefit that this technology enables is we see drastically reduced storage usage as a result of this deduplication process and the compression process that we utilize alongside of it. So really a lot of cost savings in terms of storage.
Yeah, absolutely. Which, as we just alluded to before, that's massively important nowadays with cloud storage. You're getting charged for every gigabyte, so you need to.
Sure are.
Okay, so should we stop PowerPointing and talking? You're going to show us what this is all about?
Definitely. Let me go ahead and
you just fire that up.
Make myself a presenter here.
And he's going to just open up a live environment now for us to also.
I want to show this window. You should be able to see VM backup minutes.
Yeah, I can
Perfect.
indeed. I can indeed. If
So
anyone
we got
can't,
about
please always shout in the chat. But yeah, carry on.
Definitely. So we got about 10 minutes left. This by no means will be a comprehensive overview. If you are interested in a really detailed demo of this product, by all means, email sales@hornetsecurity.com. They can help get that set up, and actually would be somebody from Matt's team that would probably give you that demo in that case. But I'll kind of show you the key bits here. So this is an established environment. So you already see a bunch of metrics here on the dashboard. So the dashboard's nice because it kind of gives me a high-level overview of the backup infrastructure. So I can see here what my backup drive status looks like, how much free space I have, how much space are the backups consuming. This gray space here is basically storage and files that are being used to kind of support the backup operations. The other thing that usually falls in this gray space is in situations where maybe you have orphaned backup files for some reason. So again, this is a lab environment. We're tinkering and moving and changing things a lot of the time. So typically in a standard installation, this gray piece of the pie is not going to be as large. Like I said, this is just because it's a lab environment and we're tinkering a lot, right? On the right-hand side, you can see our deduplication and compression metrics. So you can see here in this particular environment, we've got about 60% savings across deduplication and compression. And you can see that the protected VM data size is roughly 400 gigs, and we've deduped that down to 160 gigs in size, which is
Nice.
super useful.
Nice.
The other nice thing on this dashboard is you can see a full list of the recent operations. Green obviously is good, and if I scroll far enough, I don't know if I'll see any failures. Looking pretty good so far, but failures will show up as nice bright red in that bottom right-hand corner, and they're not clickable here because they're successful backups, but if you have a failed backup, you can drill right into the reason why the backup failed right from this view as well. And then active and upcoming operations will show down here on the left-hand side. Now, the first thing I always show I show people after the dashboard is like, okay, hey, what if this was a brand new installation? What would I do to get started? Well, the first thing that the application will do is it will kind of step you through the process. It'll say, hey, come to this host view first. This is where you come in and you add your virtualization host. So you can see we've got a couple of hosts added here already. But if this is a brand new installation, I would click add host. And I've got a number of different options here. So I would select the top option if I have a standalone Hyper-V host or a Hyper-V cluster or Azure Stack HCI. So one thing I want to mention about Azure Stack HCI, for those that aren't aware, Microsoft has indicated that the future of on-premises virtualization in the Microsoft space is Azure Stack HCI. So, what does that mean for the future of Hyper-V running on top of Windows Server inside of data centers? It's a little bit murky, but they've indicated that Azure Stack HCI is the way forward. Really, it's just a collection of all those technologies we've been using all these years under the hood. So Azure Stack HCI has Hyper-V, it has storage spaces direct, it has all the networking enhancements. It's all packaged up and packaged nice and neat under the Azure brand. Yeah. But it still lives on premises. So that's why we support Azure Stack HCI as well. I think we were the only vendor or one of the only vendors that supported Azure Stack HCI at release. I don't remember which one, so don't quote me on that. Yeah. So then if you also have, if you have VMware ESXi hosts in-house, you would select the middle option, or if you have a vCenter server, you would select the bottom option. And it would walk you through authenticating the application to those sources, and then we would go through and start parsing like, hey, you have this many virtual machines, et cetera, et cetera. So as you can see here on the right-hand side, we got 27 on this ESXi host, and we've got 24 VMs on this Hyper-V host. And then there's also this concurrency button here. Now, by default, we will do 4 concurrent backups per host at a time. You can change that under the hood if you want, or if you just want a single backup done for some reason at a time, you come in here and turn concurrency off. The only situation I can think of where you might want to think about doing that is if you're running like a boot from backup operation and you still want some backups to occur at the same time. When you're using boot from backup, you're utilizing that backup storage for reads and writes, production reads and writes. So maybe you don't want to hammer that same storage with 4 concurrent backups, right? So you can come in here and turn that on and off if you want. So after going through this section, then you'll have to go in and you'll have to configure backup locations. Okay, I've set up my host. Where do I want to store these backups? That's where the backup locations view is. And what's nice here is you get kind of that useful and that view that we're all used to seeing in a lot of applications, right? Where I've got my infrastructure on the left-hand pane, and then I've got, my backup locations on the right and middle. So this center column is my local on-premises backup locations. So you can see that we already have a local disk associated with local backups, but there's a number of different options here. If I want to do some sort of physical drive, I've got the top option there. That's also useful if I want to, maybe I have a SAN somewhere that I want to carve off an iSCSI target with. You can use an iSCSI target, or you can just use SMB network paths. We support that as well. So lots of different options there for most situations. And I have to scroll down here so I can hit cancel. There we go. On the right-hand side is where the offsite backup locations are. And you can see we've got a couple of different locations set up here already. But if I were to add a new offsite location, I have a number of different options here, right? So again, if I want to do like some sort of drive rotation, which is kind of the old way of doing offsites, but people still use it, right? I've got that option. If I want to use a network path, if I want to use one of the big 3, cloud storage locations, Azure storage accounts, Amazon S3, or a Wasabi storage account, I've got those options here. If I want to use an offsite backup server, so that would be a Hornetsecurity offsite backup server. So what that is, it's another piece of software that lives on a Windows box somewhere. It could be in your own a separate location that you have, an offsite DR location if you want to send backups there, or maybe it lives in a co-located data center somewhere. Basically, that software acts as a catcher's mitt for the offsite backups if you want to use your own infrastructure to facilitate offsite backups. Like I said, for the purposes of this demo, it's already an established environment. I want to go in here and show you this existing Amazon S3 configured storage because it has our new immutability feature enabled on it. So we can see here that we've got this Amazon S3 bucket created already that lives in the EU in the Paris region. We've got the access key and the secret access key in here, and that's essentially how VM Backup connects to that S3 bucket, what the bucket's name is, and then you see this on-off switch for immutable backups. Now, when we talk about immutability, immutability basically means that once the block is written, it cannot be changed, period, full stop, not even by administrators, right? And there's some school of thought that's like, well, somebody in the Amazon data center could go and pull disks, and technically, yes, but you think about all the bureaucracy around that, all the controls that they have in an Amazon data center or an Azure data center or a Wasabi data center. And that's not to even mention just finding the disk in question to begin with, right? So when we talk about the safety. Yeah.
So, sorry, no, I didn't interrupt you there, but just besides, it's more than just going and getting in there. They need to physically get access to that disk. It's not only that an Amazon employee or a Wasabi employee or a Microsoft employee could gain access to the machines, because they'd still be stuck with the same deal of immutability. They have to physically get hold of those drives. So they've got to get in there, and exactly that. I've been in enough colo locations in my time with the Halon rooms and the split rooms to get in and out of there. Let alone open an actual cabinet, let alone get a drive, let alone do a deal and pop it back in again and set that ransomware. It's not.
No joke. No joke. I mean, anyone who's questioning the security of really high profile data centers like this, what really sold me on it years and years ago is I once had to go into a high security data center that had some DoD related customers housed in it. The customer I was working with wasn't DoD related, but this data center just had some DoD related customers in there. I was weighed when I went into the data center, and I was weighed again when I left to make sure I wasn't leaving with something. So, I mean, you just think about the levels of control, right? I mean, anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Don't take a
So,
sandwich with you. Yeah.
exactly, right? So,
Yeah.
anyway, when we talk about immutability, obviously, when a backup is written, those blocks can't change. So when you have immutable offsite backups, they take up more storage space, right? Because we have to retain the viability of that one single backup in an immutable state. That's where this immutable policy in days comes from. So, if I want to keep my cloud storage costs down at a manageable level, that's where I would come in here and I would configure like, hey, I want my backups to be immutable for 30 days. That means 30 days worth of backups cannot be changed for any reason. And that, again, protects you in those ransomware situations. And that's configurable to whatever you want, 2 days, 365 days, whatever you want, right? So that is the storage locations. And I know we are running out of time, but absolutely. Really quick, just to kind of finish out the demo here, just to assign VMs to a backup location, it's literally as easy as clicking and dragging over to the backup space. If I want to just quick and dirty do the whole environment to the same backup location, you just grab the data center or the virtualization object or whatever, and you can do the entire thing right from there. So I'm going to discard those changes, and the last area that our application will direct you to kind of finish getting your initial backups off the ground is the backups view. And literally you just come in here and you select the machines that you would like to do a backup of. For the purposes of this demo, I'll say this CentOS VM, say take backup. That will actually start a backup here in just a second. And we can see that, hey, instructions have been sent to the hypervisor. If I click on this message, it'll take me back out to the dashboard where I can actually monitor the job from there. Yeah. So, I mean, for the sake of, for time, I'll cut the demo short there. Like I said, by no means this is a comprehensive demo. If you want a more detailed demo that talks about replication, that talks about boot from backup, like I showed, or I talked about earlier, sandbox and verification, the reporting features, we can do a lot of that other stuff, in a more detailed demo. Again, just email sales@hornetsecurity.com for that information. But Matt, heading it back Absolutely. To you to take us to the finish line here.
Yeah, no worries. Hopefully you can see my screen again now, Andy, correct?
I can, yep.
Okay, nice. And as Andy said then, please contact us to get a bespoke demo with a member of my team that'll take you through the demo. We can take a little bit more time and go through the features that really matter to you. So to kind of finish off today, the 4 ways that will protect you. 1, ransomware protection. We'll back it up. That's the first stage of ransomware protection. Don't lose sight of that it's important. You need to back your stuff up. You need to have it backed up cleanly, easily, and recoverable. That's your first stage. Second stage, immutability. That takes you to the next stage. That is leverage. And as we said here, Azure, Wasabi, Amazon S3 cloud storage, we got it covered completely. That is full ransomware protection. Thirdly, robust long-term data storage and scalable for companies of any size and number of virtual machines. It's optimal backup management without inline deduplication, with the simple console that Andy just walked you through, show you how easy it is. Set up backup, set it going, it's gone, it's done. Then it'll let you know. You can test your backups, make sure they're good, they're happy, and then the restore. And restorability from a granular file right through to full machine anytime you need it. And finally, I guess the future proof. Andy's kind of already alluded to it there, which is good because we've run out of time, but we were going to talk about HCI stack here. That is the future. We've already got it. It's in. It was in on day 1. We're there for the future. We're not going anywhere. So thank you. So I was going to also very quickly talk about our other products. I'm going to cut that real short now because we're right out of time, but we obviously have a full suite of products alongside this VM backup. Again, please talk to us, contact us through your channel and through your means. We'll give you a demonstration on any of these products that we have at any point in time. I'd like to say, has anybody got any questions? But we're really out of time, but put them in the chat.
There is one question I wanted to make sure we cover. I meant to mention this during our intro, but forgot because I was so excited about talking about VM backup. But we do have a question in the chat about when will you send gift cards to attendees? So we are giving out Amazon gift cards as part of this webinar.
Nice.
So just by attending, you guys are on the list. And so what we'll do is they will be randomly selected, and if you are chosen for the Amazon gift card, we'll be sending it out to you via email. So keep an eye on the follow-up emails. But yeah, with that, like you mentioned, Matt, your questions are in the chat. So
Yes.
what we will do, again, because we're already 5 minutes over, yeah, we'll
We'll look at them.
respond
We'll
back
come
to
back
you.
to them. Yeah,
Yep,
we got your details. If you've got a question in here, please still add it now. We'll take it offline. We'll come back to you and talk to you all. But otherwise, I think, yeah, we've blown our time there, Andy. Thank you for being such an evangelist about backup. It's lovely to have another geeky session with you. And yeah, thank you to everyone for joining us. Have a great day,
definitely.
everybody. Take care and enjoy yourselves.
Thanks,
Take care.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.